Hello, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folks. Thanks so much for joining us today over on the Jinxeekatt stream. I, of course, am Jinxeekatt. I'll be your host today, and with me is the wonderful TheKushinator. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's been a long day of learning for Heroes of the Storm, been watching some talks, playing some games, and I'm happy to get into a cast with you this evening.
Yeah, it's been a really fun day. We've been hanging out BlizzCon line, all sorts of good stuff happening. There was that 30K tournament that happened earlier today, and now we get to have our own NGS heroic game. So I am very excited about that.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this matchup. We've got fancy Flightless Fowl up in the heroic division this season versus Los Popochas team, which I'm sure
Alrighty.
I'm pronouncing horribly.
I
That's
was
what
doing.
we're going with.
It wasn't until Alfie said it in the call that I was like, oh, that's how you pronounce that. So I'm in the same boat. We're going to take a look at the maps and then we are ready to get rocking and rolling. So as you can see over here, it looks like Fancy Flightless Fowl have decided to get rid of. Braxis Holdout and Dragonshire and Towers of Doom and Sky Temple. They banned Sky Temple. I just realized that's not in the map pool. So I'm actually going to message them really quickly and let them
Oops.
know.
Yeah. To get that. I didn't catch that either. I forgot that. Yeah, Garden one, not Sky.
Yeah.
They're probably, you know what? That's probably a Heroes Lounge holdover.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. We'll get that figured out. But yeah, considering the style of bands here, Braxis, Dragonshire for Fancy Flightless Fowl, both maps that kind of require heavy rotation and a lot of sort of individual scrapping. So it makes me think that Fancy Flightless Fowl may be more leaning towards coordinated team fight style maps. Maybe leaning more towards the Wombo style. So we'll have to see whether that comes through in the drafts.
For sure. And it looks like we have a confirmation on that ban. It's going to instead be Alterac Paths, which I don't blame them. That can be a rough one to deal with. I've let the teams know that we are ready to rock and roll, so we should be ready to go here in but a moment. Our first map of the evening is going to be on Cursed Hollow, and that was picked by Fancy Flightless Fowl as the members of Los Popochas opted for first pick. So without further ado, why don't we head into that draft?
Loading
So,
on in here, we've got our first band heading over to Los Popochas. Cursed Hollow, globals are important, boss control is important, and having one of your damage be able to take a lane occasionally also important. So you've really got to spread out your draft. There's not a lot of sort of non-macro positions on a map like Cursed Hollow. So I think that's going to come through in these picks and bans.
I definitely agree there as we're heading in. There are a couple of bands that are just kind of universal. Like, we'll probably see a Chromie come out here as nobody ever wants to deal with her. Going to be Abathur, a very standard band for the mat. First and foremost, though, he can just get so much pressure going while the rest of the team is delaying over that curse. Zul'jin, going to be the next one coming out here. He has grown in strength over the last couple of leagues. We've seen him rise to more popularity.
Zul'jin has been increasingly popular. I'm starting to see it hit the bans on most maps, honestly, just because a lot of maps tend to go late now with the current, just the current heroes that people are playing. It's a lot of 20 versus 20. Now, I feel like Cursed Hollow is one of the few maps in the rotation that you really can end early. Like, if you get a couple of quick curses, you get some good control, find level 10 first, you might be picking up a keep very early on, but it really depends on how you draft it.
I 100% agree. It's one of those crazy maps that can last, either 9 minutes or 29 minutes, depending on how you draft and how the game ends up going. You pick up an early boss, an early curse. You can be pushing one of those keeps, at sub 7 minutes. So it really comes down to just how much wave pressure you have, how much macro pressure you have, that sort of stuff. We're going to see our first pick here. Diablo, very strong hero, especially around these curse points. Lots of different bits of terrain you can knock folks into.
So it looks like Los Popochas are kind of daring Fancy Flightless Fowl to pick Tychus here. Normally, You see Diablo kind of held back, hovered but not picked, while Tychus is still available. And it actually is going to come on through. It's going to be the Uther here versus Stewie, and Alfie going to be on the Tychus. That's not necessarily a death sentence for Diablo, but it does mean that Diablo can't just hang around in the enemy team forever.
It'll be really difficult, especially in the early game, as they're going to try and look for some of those engages without Diablo being at 100 souls, which is kind of a blessing and a curse when fighting into Tychus. The Uther also is going to be quite difficult here, seeing as anytime you go in, there's a point-and-click stun waiting for you. A little bit of divergence coming out here. We don't typically get to see Nazeebo, especially on such a large map, Crush.
Nazeebo in the early going here is an interesting choice. Now, Gazebo you generally take when there's double soak opportunities, which Cursed Hollow almost uniquely does not really give you. And also on a map where you don't necessarily get to 20 much either. Now that might indicate that Los Popochas may be moving into a Deathwing. Normally we think about the Leoric Deathwing as a classic setup for roasting, but Zombie Wall can accomplish the same thing from level 1. So that could be the way that they're going, or it could just be a very confident Nazeebo.
You know, it's really interesting that you mentioned the Deathwing, because a lot of people don't know that Nazeebo also actually is kind of like a micro counter to Deathwing, because you can put the zombie wall down right as he lands, and he can't get out of it unless he burns Cataclysm. So it's just a couple of seconds where you can kind of ping away at him while he can't use any abilities. So maybe even dissuading the Deathwing from the other side, as we're going to see the Gyros come out here. They don't want to make Diablo's life any harder than it needs to be.
Preemptively picking up the Leoric here. Uther Stukov is a pretty, I won't say standard, but it's a more and more seen front line since we started seeing that in the CCL a little bit. Very difficult to pass that Uther Stukov. It's going to be the Sonya in response, though. It could still be a Deathwing. That would be pretty greedy. But let's see what Vash comes up with here in this last spot.
It's going to be Greymane this time around, just looking for some quick high dive from this team. Diablo, Sonya, Greymane all going in. That instantly can delete one target if you're not careful.
So what I'm seeing from Los Popochas here is a lot of building siege. Nazeebo, very strong sieging buildings. Sonya, Greymane, both very strong siege. So we might see some darting around the map, some moving away from objectives to try to snipe buildings here from Los Popochas. But the Leoric Falstad is going to do a pretty good job of anchoring these lanes. And with both teams having a global, it's really going to come down to whether Fancy Flightless Fowl can force the fights that they want into this team.
Gonna bring it back here as we get ready for our first game of the evening. And I'm really excited for this. I love the high dive. I love the big building siege like you were talking about, Crush. But also, I think the Falstad is a really smart counter to that, being able to be almost anywhere in an instant versus either the Brightwing, harassing her in lane, or they see Greymane Sonya getting a little too comfortable. They can be there. They can kind of deny it. And then the Falstad with the Gust also shuts down a lot of that big engage whenever Diablo wants to go in with Greymane.
It's going to be an interesting matchup here for sure with the Falstad there. Just taking a look at how these two teams really want to fight. I don't think there's going to be a lot of blow-up opportunities, because there's some good blow-up on the side of Los Popochas, but you're into double support. You're into 2 dashes from Falstad and Tychus. You're into an unstoppable retreat from Leoric along with all that armor. And just looking at the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl for a win condition, their damage is not that fast. So I think it's really going to come down to the macro play for who gets ahead here.
Definitely. Well, that sound does mean that we are ready to head into our first game of the series. So over here on the left-hand side, we do have the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl, with Gingy Boy going to be that Stukov. Batmang will be your Leoric. Stewie going to be that Uther. Alfie rocking the Tychus. And Herbitronic will be your Falstad.
On the right in the red, Los Popochas team with Marnik X on the Diablo, LPT Tiome on the Nazeebo, Ancient on the Sonya, Vash on the Greymane, and Doll on the Brightwing.
Bringing it to the mid, where none of the heroes have shown up yet. We'll take a look at some of these level 1 talents. They all begin to look for that delicious mid lane XP, maybe an early pick. So the members of Los Popochas do have a very aggressive early game. Looks like Uther going for that Hammer of the Lightbringer in terms of quest. We also have the bribe stacks from Falstad. And then Nazeebo opting for the Spiders, the Widowmakers at level 1, who is not going to get too many stacks as they immediately get blown up by the huge CC and damage of Fancy Flightless Fowl.
Nice job catching out with the slow and with the stun from Uther, allowing enough time for Falstad and Tychus to lay on that damage. Yeah, interesting with the Spider build here from Nazeebo. Spider build is often seen as kind of a way for Nazeebo to have a little bit more of an impact before level 20. So it could be that they see this draft and they're a little worried about their ability to get into the late game here.
It can be tough. We're going to see another stun and another use of that minigun come out from Alfie there. Doll is going to have to teleport down to help out... gosh, I can't... pronouncing this name. Is that TMA?
I'm going to go with TMA, yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I had to make sure. I don't want to... I was going to ask Ancient earlier, but they weren't able to pop into our call, unfortunately. So, not going to kill off the Nazeebo this time around. Looks like both teams are getting ready on those camps. Now, Tychus and Uther, they don't have quite the camp clear that Greymane does have, coupled with the fact that they're taking bruisers over that siege camp. Going to take a little bit longer than we typically see here.
This is definitely advantage of Los Popochas' team. They've got much, much better camp clear and much better camp take than the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl. So I wouldn't surprise me if there are possible camp invades or just sticking alongside these camps because, like you said, I mean, Tychus and Falstad don't exactly have the greatest clear. And just as I say that, Fancy Flightless Fowl are actually going to use their zone control prowess to just go in and take the camp that Los Popochas' team just spent all their time picking up. So that's actually a really interesting usage of this team comp from Fancy Flightless Fowl. They can't take camps much themselves, but they can really hold a point well.
Incredible play by Fancy Flightless Fowl there. They saw Nazeebo was clearing down in the bottom. They knew it was going to take a second for him to get up. Seeing that Greymane and Brightwing weren't in lane, there was only one place they could have been, and as such, they took advantage of it with the Falstad Fly. Unfortunately for them, he won't have Fly to get down to this bottom tribute here. Is going to stay up in the top with Sonya. We'll see if Ancient is going to head down. It looks like they're starting to head that way. Maybe thinking about it, trying to maybe bait them, as Herbatronic looks to just keep staying up here. In fact, nobody from the side of the red team going to contest this at all. They know they're a little bit behind. They've got work to do in lanes. So the first tribute of the game is going to go over to Fancy Flightless Fowl.
It's a little bit tough here. Los Popochas' team, what they would love to do is be able to just delay the objective and allow their heroes to siege in the off lanes, but they don't have a tremendous amount of safe poke. Nazeebo doesn't have much range due to that level 1 talent pick, and Brightwing steps up enough to get the Q. That could be just an instant death with the chase of the Stukov Uther. So Los Popochas' team in a little bit of a tough spot here in the early going.
We're going to see Brightwing teleport up to the top. They got a little bit of damage, a little bit of panic out there onto Herbatronic on that Falstad, but no deaths coming of it just yet. As Brightwing did teleport up, so she will also have to walk down. It looks like Batman is going to try and get this. This time, though, Vosh not going to let them get it for free. However, that's the only interrupt they have. Faster rotation by Fancy Flightless Flower means another tribute going in the bag to them. We are tied 7-7 here now. We'll see if anything is going to come from it as they look to try and find Vosh down here in the bottom. But eyes in the dark going to save him for the time being.
Vosh just barely escaping there. Once level 10's online, that Greymane's definitely not getting out of there, but saving themselves for now. And this is setting up to be one of those possibly very quick cursed games. This is going exactly the way that Fancy Flightless Fowl want in the face of this Nazeebo pick.
They're just taking advantage of the fact that Nazeebo is a very late game hero. One of the best ways to counteract that is to just not show up late. We're going to see Dahl teleport in onto Marnix, who is going to get stunned, going to go down. Their zombie wall comes out, but they're not able to find anything in retaliation. Not having that tank is going to make it really, really difficult for Los Popochas to try and grab this third tribute. But they got to try something. They can't afford to give this away for a free crush, or it's a free curse going over to the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl.
Their poke isn't so hot here as actually Uther going down in the mid. That's going to allow a 4v4 here for Los Popochas. They're starting to move up. Uther down for another 15 seconds here. Diablo on the way back. Vash in a little bit of trouble. Jumps onto Herbatronic to try to use the Razor Swipe to escape. Batmang on the back line trying to get the Sonya, but Brightwing is going to warp in. Vash very low on the outside trying to come in and contribute for the team. But this double support with the Uther ghost healing has kept everyone very healthy, but with Uther gone now, this could be trouble. Fancy Flightless Fowl. Batmang, how are you alive? Yorick is still up. They find the kill onto Diablo again. Alfie going to be taken out by TMA. Greymane finally going down. Stayed around with 200 health for a very long time there. But Los Popochas did manage to actually get the curse point in all that mayhem.
It looked like it was going to go really sour for them, but they were able to just stay in, hold them off, and they picked up the siege camp down in the bottom, so that got a lot of work done, killing most of the fort and the entire front wall there, putting them just back in to nearly be caught up in XP with the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl. They do have their heroic abilities right now. We've opted for the Divine Storm coming out here for Uther, and it looks like Los Popochas are biting back in this middle game here, Crush.
I like this Divine Storm pick just because the damage of Tychus Falstad isn't really... It's not divey enough, it's not bursty enough to really warrant the Divine Shield. You don't have a Greymane, you don't have a Kerrigan, something that can really fly in there and take advantage. So I like just having a little bit of extra time to burst down that front line target.
Gonna see several heroic abilities come out there from the side of Los Popochas, and I 100% agree. We did see the APOC already come out. Divine Storm going to just damage in on Diablo. Gus also used there as well. Brightwing trying to teleport in. Uther getting very low, going to be the first to fall here, but the rest of the members of Los Popochas are very, very low, and Tomb comes out, catching two already incredibly low members. Make it three as Nazeebo goes down as well here alongside Diablo. Sonya going to be the next on the chopping block, and will Vosh escape? Only member alive from the side of Los Popochas. No, a fantastic weighted pustule ends up bringing the curse over to the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl, who are right back in control of this game.
That was a lovely entomb coming out there from Batmang, catching two very critical members of Los Popochas there. Diablo with the soul reset is back on the field. We see Leoric pushing down the mid with a bruiser camp. I think we might be looking at 3 forts here, Jinxie.
It's going to be really tough as the bottom fort already goes down, top also going down, and you're up 100% right, Crush. Nobody's dealing with this siege camp, but it does a lot of work. Batman getting very low, but does end up making it away thanks to Uther and Stukov there. And that's the triple fort play. It's a terrible position to be in. That's a ton of passive XP going over to Fancy Flightless Fowl. Pretty happy with what they've been able to attain from this curse. They know that Los Popochas have to do damage control, especially with the siege camp pushing top. So it looks like they're going to head in for this boss here.
This boss is basically free. Los Popochas is trapped dealing with their lanes that are all pushed into these keep walls. It could be a double boss play here, or it could just be marching down to try to get the bottom keep. Moving to the top boss could be a little bit risky, as the members of Los Popochas will almost certainly be waiting. It looks like they're going to try to start this boss themselves. The clear is very fast. Oh no, Herbatronic has actually been discovered in the bush. Manages to get away from the Diablo, but there's the APOC combo. Falstad's going to fall first, but there's the Divine Storm. Uther turning things around. Look at that silence route with the Entomb. TMA jumping in there is going to blow up as well. 2 members down for the one on the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl. Vosh trying to get away with that. Stukov pustule will finally be popped, trying to roll away there. There's the stun onto Marnik X. Diablo down as well. And this double support comp is just out-sustaining Los Popochas' team.
It is really hard to come back from this. That virulent reaction, masterfully crafted to catch 2 members of Los Popochas. They pulled him off the boss. We looked so sour in the early stages of that fight. You know, Falstad going down, had already used the Gus. I was going to bring up, you know, they could look to try and Gus folks off the point, but they weren't able to find it. They found the 5-man team wipe, though, and now they're just going to look to pressure both of these teams. Bottom boss has already petered out. It did manage to grab the front wall there. Another wall going to be obtained. Stewie, though, stuck in this zombie wall, going to be caught, hit, stunned around. Silence, build your own, buried alive. Uther goes down, Bout in the back. Sonya drops the lead. Voss so very low. Batman gonna finish them off in the back. Sonya will fall as well. Diablo trying to keep everybody alive. Doll can't get in there to heal, or Polly finally manages to get Marnix out. And TMA just trying to poke. Stewie, why are the zombie walls OP? He's definitely getting trait value this game.
Batman just keeping Diablo out of this fight. Zombie walls OP there by Stewie. This boss at about half health here, but members are coming back up. This may not be an automatic core here. Greymane back on the field. Sonya about to be back. There's the APOC combo onto the back line. Gingy Boy is going to get stuck there, but so much armor coming out is going to keep Stukov alive for now. Stukov going to go down, but the core at 30%. Everyone was on the backside. Great job by Stukov staying alive long enough for Fancy Flightless Fowl to pick up the sub-12-minute victory.
Very fast game, just like you called, Cross. That double support sustain, keeping everybody alive for incredible amounts of time. It was just unreal there. We look at the healing numbers for both of these teams. 40k for Stukov as opposed to the 30k of Brightwing, and Uther with their own 15 chiming in. Of course, that doesn't bring into the 50% armor that he does give to folks, which is so devastating without that percentage damage.
Absolutely. It's a devastating double support right now. Uther, the enabler of any kind of double healer comp you want to run right now. I can't really think of any solid pairing that doesn't involve an Uther or isn't supported by a Zarya at the very least. So you have kind of 2.5. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the draft here of Los Popochas' team, they have an interesting mix of siege pressure and sort of late game here, but great map awareness, great game plan here from Fancy Flightless Fowl to just understand that if they were going to win, it was going to be early, and they executed well.
Super solid all around. We're taking a look here. I'm seeing if anything stands out, but just going back to the Uther for a second, it makes a lot of sense. Whenever we watch any of the Storm Division games, we do see a lot of Uther bans, and this is exactly why. Again, the armor keeps folks so well topped up. The extra healing is super nice, and even if you kill him, he's still going to stick around for a couple of seconds and heal folks up. I can't tell you how many times teams have gotten away with just a smidgen of health because that Uther Ghost is there, just healing up the kill target, preventing them from going down. So, very
Absolutely.
Solid all around.
This particular tank Uther build, especially with the Benediction at 16, you might be getting 4 stuns in a row, which is just a nightmare for Sonya Diablo, whose sustain is all about being able to attack, being able to use abilities, and when they don't have those, I mean, you saw what happened.
Yeah, you get 3 stuns off, and I think we've done the math, and it ends up to about between 4 and 6 seconds of stun, depending on how you layer the abilities. At that, nobody is getting away from that. It doesn't matter if you have like the slowest burn damage in the game. 6 seconds of stun is so easy to just pick somebody off.
Yeah, I mean, without an Anduin to bring the save or a Falstad to blow everyone away, you're right. It doesn't matter who you target with that setup. You're going to get somebody.
All right, it looks like we have another lobby rocking and rolling and ready to go. Our game is going to be on Volskaya Foundry this time round. Doesn't look like they set up the lobby yet, so I will let you know as soon as I can who picked this map. I'm going to bring it over to the map screen where we can update for everybody here. Game number 1 was won by Fancy Flightless Fowl. So let's go ahead. They picked it. They won it. They knew exactly what they liked.
It's like Los Popochas chose the first pick, so this will be Fancy Flightless Fowl taking us to Volskaya.
For For sure. Alrighty. You know, it makes sense. They can do kind of the similar thing they did on Cursed Hollow here on Full Sky at Foundry. We'll update that for you guys. And if you're just now joining, then welcome, welcome. As you can see here on our map selection, the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl decided to ban away Braxis Holdout and Dragonshire. The members of Los Popochas got rid of Alterac Pass and Towers of Doom. Our first map was Cursed Hollow, picked by the triple Fs there. They did end up winning, and now it looks like they are bringing us to Volskaya Foundry.
Volskaya, a map that's definitely much more likely to go late. So we could see, I mean, it could be a Nazebo again. It could be, I mean, we saw Zul'jin banned last time. This is probably Zul'jin's best map. One thing that I have been seeing on Volskaya at different levels is Azmodan, strangely enough. There's a particular style where Azmodan focuses top, where you siege with your minions, you take the siege camps on cooldown, and you just sort of build a win condition up there separate from the rest of the map. I've seen it in I think 3 series now. It's an interesting little surge.
Do you think people would do that? Take Azmodan and just push? That's kind of a toxic way to play. I don't understand why somebody would just pick Azmodan.
How could you just pick such dishonor? No, but it's interesting. Like, Azmodan's carved out this little niche in the current game. You kind of think of Azmodan as kind of old style, the old specialist that just, you know, got phased out role wise. But people are holding true to the old Lord of Sin there, and they're finding ways to draft them.
This is one of my favorite metas that we currently have going on right now, because almost every single hero is currently viable, which is really exciting because lots of folks get to, you know, play the heroes that they love to play. We're going to see a couple of heroes that are pretty strong being taken out of here as the respect bans come out onto Stukov and Tychus. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, 2 very impactful heroes from our last draft. Gonna try to make Fancy Flightless Fowl play something a little different here on Volskaya Foundry, as that particular comp probably would have worked just as well on this map.
We're going to see May come in here first. And I really like the May on Volskaya Foundry. She offers a lot of point control. She offers a lot of dissuasion for coming in. And it can be really devastating if your tank engages and then she throws the blizzard down. Your backline can't follow up. It looks like, you know, a couple of minor adjustments to the team comp of Fancy Flightless Fowl. They're going to pick the Nazebo for themselves this time around.
I like Nazebo on Volskaya a lot better than Cursed. You've got lanes that you can double soak, and you're going to, like, I can't remember the last time Volskaya ended where both teams weren't at least level 20. So you've really got a chance for Nazebo to get some work done here. And it's going to be some pretty standard anti-Uther tech coming through here for Los Popochas in the Kael'thas Lunara.
I really like this. I think it's going to help out a lot if the members are looking to opt for that double support again. And seeing Stewie on the Uther leads me to believe that that's going to be the case. And if it's not, just the solo Uther without the extra heals, it's going to be really hard to play into Lunara. The KT with the extra living bomb, you know, you always have considered Uther to be kind of a single target healer, really just trying to make Stewie's life hard this time around.
So there's a lot of healers banned out. Stukov specifically, we saw that paired up with Uther last time. But I think there are other healers that you can run with this setup, as we now see a Leoric Deathwing, kind of a big 1-2 punch here coming on through for Fancy Flightless Fowl. It would not surprise me at all if the last spot here from Fancy Flightless Fowl is another healer.
The Stukov has been banned away. We could be looking at something like the Ana, maybe. You could always opt for the Eye of Horus, even though there isn't really like a superb nano target. Other healers include, ooh, interesting, Alex Straza fighting with their own point control. And then Thrall coming out here as well.
Alex Straza, I think, is an interesting one here. They banned away Ana, so they know that the grenade isn't going to come on through and ruin their day.
Didn't even see that. Whoops.
They are picking a healer that has everyone group up into a Leoric Deathwing, so they've got to be a little careful there, and we are actually going to see the second healer in a Lucio picked here by Gingy Boy.
So I think the Lucio makes a lot of sense. He can help Nazeebo rotate throughout the lanes fairly quickly with that movement speed, allow them to scurry in and out of the blizzard, really kind of counteracting May's slows from Earthquake, should Thrall opt to go that. And then they can also help to get in and out of these fights really fast, just trying to skirt away from Lunara since she doesn't have the opportunity to mount up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's two ends of the healing spectrum. You've got Uther with the big one-time heals and armor. We've got Lucio with the constant healing in the background. So, you know, one to prevent burst, one to heal away the poison. And the rest of them are just saying, you know, feel free to step onto the point if you dare. If you want to come into a Nazeebo Leoric Deathwing and, you know, mix it up, feel free.
Just updating this super quick because I think I have it all sorted and right this time, and you are 100% right, Crush. There's a lot of I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with the two team comps as we hop in for our second game of the series. So over here on the left hand side, we do have members of my Soothsayer are not working. Excellent. All right. Herbatronic will be your Deathwing. Alfie is going to be rocking that. Can't see. Nazeebo. Gonna be the Nazeebo. Stewie will be your Uther once again. Gingy Boy on the Lucio and Batman on that Leo.
On the right in the red, Los Popochas team. TMA on the Kael'thas. Vosh is playing the May. Ancient going to be playing Thrall. Marnik X on the Lunara. And Dahl playing the Alexstrasza.
Head in here. We are seeing a little bit of a different talent for Nazeebo come that level 1. Going for the Thing of the Deep, what we typically see. And then Kael'thas, of course, going for that mana addict, getting that extra shield.
Yeah, the Thing of the Deep, definitely the standard. We're playing for level 20 talent when it comes to Nazeebo. You get, you know, a little bit of spell power in the at the 100 minion mark, but it's really the range that you're working with to try to help set up the Deathwing, help stay safe in the early going that we're seeing coming out from Nazeebo.
Deathwing shift modes there. Gingy Boy taking a little bit of poison damage. Molten Breath coming out. Lots of damage coming. Herbatronic is going to lose that first armor plate. Loses the second one here as well. Lots of damage coming out onto the big boy. The members of Fancy Flightless Fowl going to have to ban or walk away as Marinex is just going to keep poking away at them. The Uther Lucio is kind of difficult for this exact reason, and they don't heal up big amounts of damage particularly fast.
This is one thing that Los Popochas are going to try to abuse in this game. They've got a much faster rotation between this Kael'thas, May, and Lunara. The members of Fancy Flightless Fowl are going to be able to hold a point extremely well, but their ability to move around the map quickly is not as strong as Los Popochas.
I'll look to opt fight over this objective more if I had to guess than go for the different way we've seen Volskaya Foundry played most recently, and of course that is just kind of ignoring the objective. If you get it, awesome. If not, we have other work we can be doing in other lanes. I wouldn't be surprised if Los Popochas just decided to say, you know what, have it. We siege a lot harder. Lunara coming in with a Blossom Swell, actually, so maybe they will look to fight over that point, not opting for the Nature's Calling at level 4.
Fancy Flightless Fowl trying to step up onto this heal camp. Herbatronic in the background lining up that flame in the corridor. Vosh seemed to be just barely out of that breath. Didn't look like May's health was going down there much at all. May have been just out of that hitbox. And it looks like Los Popochas have successfully claimed this heal camp, taking advantage of their early lead here.
They did use Dragon Queen in that fight, so they won't have it for this next objective. So a little bit harder to control the point, but still able to do so nonetheless. We are going to see Deathwing head up into the sky to heal up before this point. And I thought that the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl had a much stronger point control, but after seeing that last fight, I'm not 100% sure anymore, Crush. I feel like this objective could go either way. How about you?
The early going is definitely not the friend here for Fancy Flightless Fowl. Leoric comes online really at 13 and 16. Deathwing, same thing, 13 and 16. Nazebo even later in the game. Lucio's healing really pumps up at level 16. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Fancy Flightless Fowl lose the first 2, maybe even 3 objectives, unless Los Popochas makes a grave error here.
It looks like they're doing exactly what you said. The members of Los Popochas holding on to this bottom point fairly strong. They're sitting at about halfway through that channel. Finally, the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl are going to come up. They look for the stun onto Vosh. May is a very tanky lady. They're going to use that gravity surge to prevent Batman from falling in too far, and now Manix is just going to try and get a little bit of bonus damage and gets the stun from Uther, but not before taking half of Stewie's health.
Members of Los Popochas here are just working the edges, looking to poke around here. So we saw the Uther in game number 1 take those snap engages with the hammer, with the Divine Storm, but Deathwing just simply cannot follow up that quickly. There's an inherent synergy between the Nazebo and Deathwing because Nazebo's setup takes a while and Deathwing's setup takes a while. But unless Uther is communicating very far ahead of time, you'll see situations just like that. Ancient gets stunned and is able to just walk out again.
Having a really hard time following up this time around. Stun comes out. It only hits Vosh, who is still very tanky. They're going to drop the healing pulse there just to make sure everybody gets nice and healed up. Not sure what the well situation is looking like for the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl. Dragon Queen comes out. Cataclysm also being used here. Herbitronic, though, is just falling so very far. Going to go down to Thrall and Lunara here. Finally going first blood over to the side of Los Popochas. 99% on the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl, but not going to be enough. Batman is going to be the next to fall here, and that whole front line has just popped.
Thrall's level 1 talent there, the Rolling Thunder, that percent damage on autos after hitting with Chain Lightning is going to mean that Deathwing can't just dive into the back. That plus the Lunara poison are going to really chunk out Deathwing in these fights.
Someone who was just in this exact situation yesterday, it feels really rough when you can't go in as the Deathwing because one of those, that huge health bar is the allure there, but having that delayed reaction on all of your abilities can make it kind of tough. The longer you stay in that fight, the more you're likely to just end up burning down. We're going to see Gingy Boy hit once again by the gravity lapse. Loses another big chunk of health. Lunara has opted for this huge burst build, and it's really paying dividends for him there. The Protector still very strong. He's opted to go top as opposed to the new way we've seen the map played, and it's just looking to grab this fountain, maybe more if they're careful. But with 6% left, they're going to just head on out. Uh-oh, there comes the Entomb, though. Sundering comes out. Lifefinder not going to be enough. Thrall going to go down. May cooks several people in the ice wall. Gingy Boy tries to push off after him, but not going to find it. And Cleanse comes out as well. Gingy Boy has finished things to the deep, but it doesn't seem to matter. They got the 1 kill. Now they have to back out. Make a 1-for-1 here as Batman is getting low. Gingy Boy is getting low for the double support, keeping him alive just enough to escape.
With that Entomb coming online, that's almost the best of both worlds here for setting up a Deathwing. It's a snap engage, but it lasts for a long enough time that Deathwing can line up and hit that Molten Breath. And we're once again seeing that Divine Storm on Uther to just keep everyone trapped for that much longer in the breath. So this is where Fancy Flightless Fowl starts to become a lot more dangerous.
Have to be careful on the side of Los Popochas, especially with things like the Dragon Queen. That's a big giant hitbox that says aim here, and it's difficult for Alex to get out. You saw just there, she went for the Lifebinder, so not even able to use the gosh, I can't think of Cleansing Flame to jump out of that. She will be trapped in there, but stays back, should be fine. So it's going to be all about positioning for Los Popochas here.
Batman doing a little double soaking here. Fancy Flightless Fowl thinking about setting up for this heal camp. Herbitronic just making things difficult for the rotations of Los Popochas. And there's that setup. You see Nazebo trying to throw out that zombie wall, and Herbatronic just hitting that Q immediately in order to get the timing right. Almost caught one there. I expect to see that multiple times through this mid game.
And a stun on to Lunara, but nothing able to follow up quite yet, as everybody has just gone back to get in the soak, trying to find those later levels. Los Popochas has caught up in XP. They're about a level down, but have made it up since. They're just going to continue to try and bully Herbatronics there. Looking for Alfie. Great unstoppable thanks to the high five of Lucio after the major buff it just received. It is the new hot for the Lucio players. Uh-oh.
Ancient's in trouble. Thrall caught in the mid. Nice push in there by Gingy Boy to keep Thrall in that entomb long enough for Herbatronic to launch that Q.
Rough spot there for Los Popochas. They're basically going to have to cede all of the positioning on this objective now here. Granted, they don't have the entomb, so they could look to try and maybe poke out Herbatronics, but he is still a really big boy. Out comes the Divine Storm from Uther. Push off. Out comes Ice Wall as well. Lifebinder gonna keep TMA alive for a split second. Longer stun from the defender, the Deathwing Worldbreaker form. They're fighting over this point. Gingy Boy targeted by the Pyroblast may not make it out alive here. Actually does end up going down off screen. They're definitely able to hold. Uses the Bellowing Roar to send May away, but Batman so very low, going to go down. May traded out as well though, but ultimately that heal ball is going to go over to the side of Los Popochas.
That was a really clutch catch there from the side of Los Popochas, as Stewie's in some trouble here, manages to get away. But that Lifebinder on the kill target, the Ice Wall from the May to shut down any further engage, that's exactly how Los Popochas are going to try to counter this setup. Because, I mean, Fancy Flightless Fowl, they've basically got one way to kill somebody until level 20, when Nazebo just does everything wrong.
Not having that entomb, they understood despite not having the Thrall with them, they could still take a really strong fight. I think the combination of the Lifebinder and the Ice Wall, as you were saying earlier, Crush, is just so strong, keeping somebody alive for so long without any worry about being bursted down before that connects. So something that the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl are going to have to remember for future fights. They don't have that entomb. It is really hard to take these fights here.
Absolutely, and right now Los Popochas are getting a little bit of an invade going on here. Batman going to step up onto the point. Gingy Boy manages to pick it up, and then just a sneaky little move there with TMA and Vosh on the outside. Actually, one going to get hit by the Ice Wall. Stewie trying to move on in with the Divine Storm onto 3, but here comes the Pyroblast once again onto Uther. Has enough armor for now. Lucio trying to heal up Uther, but it's not going to be enough, and Gingy Boy might pay for this. Batman uses the Wraithwalk to try to back off, gets out of that Blizzard. That's Uther going down here. A cheeky invade, but a nice catch there by May.
Solid plays all around. Looks like the turret had to be dropped regardless. So members of Los Popochas do not have this turret. Still was used. So 1-0 in favor of the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl in terms of items, but they ended up losing that team fight. Interesting to see for them go for the Uther. You know, typically you want to kill Uther later on in the team fight just because he was able to keep members like Batman and Gingy Boy up in the last fight thanks to the Uther passive. So not all lost for Fancy Flightless Fowl, but still definitely putting them behind a little bit there as they're now ceding a bunch of percentage on this top objective.
It's definitely a tough call there for Los Popochas because, I mean, ideally you want to find a Lucio, maybe you want to find the Nazebo, but the chances of actually getting to one of those two targets in these fights is pretty low. Uther is just kind of the closest target. If you can get the Uther, back off for a second, wait for that ghost to reset, that could be the game plan here, as it's going to be pretty difficult to really get anyone else down.
Makes a lot of sense. Something to consider. This second protector, excuse me, going to go over to the side of Los Popochas. In the bottom lane, though, Nazebo was able to grab that bottom fort. It's a first fort of the game going over to the blue side here. We're going to see potentially this top fort going down. May comes out with that Blizzard. We're going to see Lunara and Kalefoss in this Protector, keeping the squishiest members safe. Alfie going to take a lot of damage here. Pops the Ice Block, though, able to survive for the time being. And now it's going to be the mid fort that Los Popochas have their eyes set on. Before I forget, Fujin Akari, thank you very much for that raid. Welcome, members of Fujin's community. And those of you who haven't seen Fujin before, she's an awesome lady. You can check her out in the shout-out link I just posted.
Just checking out Leoric's build there. It's it's going for the auto attack build. So you're going to see Batman get an awful lot of damage onto the Mei and onto the Thrall, but the damage onto the Protector isn't going to be quite as strong as we see with that Drain Hope build, which you can just get basically up all the time here. Oh wow, Marnik X is getting shredded by that Deathwing damage. There it is coming out again. The Molten Breath catches 2. That's Mei and Kalefoss going down and finding exactly the engage they want here is Fancy Flightless Fowl. Now Doll in some trouble. Gets a little bit of those immunity frames to cleanse that Deathwing dot.
This is exactly what you were talking about in the early game. Deathwing has level 16 now. They've gone for the conflagration. So dealing roughly about 600 damage makes you burst for more damage in an area around you. Very similar to Kalefoss's Living Bomb, but over a couple of seconds. It's not as potent, but it can be devastating, especially when combined with the Leoric Entomb. You're just nowhere to go, nowhere to escape from. Lucio looking... did not go for the reverse amp at level 7. So, not as powerful, but still an incredibly strong combo nonetheless. Not able to move around as much, getting that extra damage onto the side of Los Popochas.
Absolutely. Fancy Flightless Fowl has some extremely impactful level 16s. But Los Popochas, they're not slouches on 16 either. We see that Lunara... Unfair Advantage coming on through. The Tempest Fury from Thrall can do some serious work. And Ignite from Kalefoss are all pretty big spikes as well. So we'll have to see who comes out ahead here as we now have an invade. Los Popochas wants this turret. They find the route. Batman was already unstoppable, but caught by the Thrall there. Stewie trying to keep Batman alive there. Oh, Ice Wall is actually going to catch 2. Gingy Boy is locked out of this fight. Herbitronic is trying to use the breath to ward away Los Popochas. Batman is going to fall, though. Ice Bellowing Roar is going to prevent any further engage here. Looks like we may have a possible re-engage. Batman just hanging out on top of Vosh. And very nice invade there. Los Popochas pick up a kill and pick up a turret.
So many huge abilities and resources used in that last fight. We got Bellowing Roar out. We got the turret dropped by Leoric there, which was interesting to me. I thought he might have died and left it because it was in a difficult spot for the side of Los Popochas to pick up, but they end up burning it there. So we want to have that for this next objective, which will be up in a couple of seconds. Leoric will be back just in time for this. That was an interesting interaction, not being able to go over the wall. Lunara catches out Alfie. Stewie also very low, spreads the love with the Living Bomb. Ice Wall used once again.
Oh,
Gingy
no.
is so low. Uther just blasted to bits, was able to drop that healing pulse, but wasn't enough to save him. He's now trying to heal up the rest of the members, but this poison damage is doing so much work. However, Vosh's health bar is just sinking. Gingy Boy looking for retribution, not going to find it. Doll able to heal up May, and Los Popochas have taken full advantage in our second game of the series.
Just a fantastic combo there by Alex Straza and May, negating the damage, putting the time stop on the 2 important targets there on Fancy Flightless Fowl. May somehow living through, what was that, a 17-second Molten Breath there from Deathwing. And now we're going to see some siege coming through from Los Popochas and possibly a setup onto the bottom objective.
The hard thing here for Fancy Flightless Fowl is that Alex Straza is so safe in the back, and a lot of their hard work can be negated by that life binder. Their damage isn't particularly fast outside of that Deathwing Molten Breath, and even there you saw onto a really tanky target like May with the Cryo Freeze, got them next to no value. All 5 members going down in that team fight. Early lead on this bottom objective. We'll see if Fancy Flightless Fowl do try to contest. They have their level 20s, or if they're just going to wait and try and find value elsewhere.
Thing to note, Fancy Flightless Fowl. Gazebo has 267 stacks right now. Alfie sitting on 6,500 health. That's going to be a problem here for Los Popochas if Alfie gets onto that backline in any way, shape, or form.
They finally have that level 20, which you wait for. The main reason you pick Nazebo, that Vile Infection. That's the extra stacks that affect heroes now, and it does an insane amount of bonus poison damage. So you can see those minions falling down there right now. It does even more to heroes. You can see they don't want anything to do with Alfie right now on the side of Los Popochas. They're going to get this top camp, let that continue to push, looking for the heal pulse right now. Maybe go in with a little bit extra safety so they don't die to the poison damage.
Just going to pick up that heal camp. Los Popochas definitely do not want to be walking into Fancy Flightless Fowl here. They're going to start to move their way down now. We'll see if they can find themselves an angle here. Bosch is going to move in first to try to bait out the combo. Batman holding back for the meantime. Now May is in the back line trying to dissuade Alfie, but there's the stun combo. Vash is going to be healed up. There's the life binder from Dahl. Alfie trying to take out this turret, but is getting pretty low. The Vine Storm from Stewie will land, but there's the Sundering from Thrall as well. Oh my goodness, look at the bombs from Kael'thas. The Zebo is down, Lucio and Deathwing are down. Stewie is going to be next here, and the full bomb build from Kael'thas just cannot be contained here. Looks like we're going to maybe have an ace at some point. No, Batman, with the help of Ghost Uther, manages to get away.
One of the reasons that Uther is so strong, but it doesn't matter here. There's minions pushing up in the top lane. The Protector has now been picked up in the bottom lane. I'd be surprised if we see the Protector go bottom. It looks like the team is actually heading for that mid lane. So much damage onto Batman. All that extra poison. Lunara, you can see, has activated her W there, increasing the duration of that poison from the Nature's Toxin, but Batman is able to get the safety and crush. It looks like we're going to have a game number 3 on our hands here.
Los Popochas team have cleaved down this core shielding, and they're absolutely going to be moving on to a game number 3. Just so much value from that Kael'thas bomb build. I mean, Leoric's got to be still to lock people in the Entomb. Deathwing's got to be still to hit that Molten Breath. And wow, fantastic job from Los Popochas team.
They had this game all the way from start to finish. There wasn't really a time that I felt that they weren't ever not in control. You can see here in the stats, 5-13 in favor of Los Popochas. And I think having that safe poke damage this time around, having that insane amount of poison damage really, really worked out well for them, thanks to the fact that Uther and Lucio are such slow healers. They just couldn't keep up with everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, the adjustment made by Los Popochas there to have the life binder, to have the ice wall from May played by Vash there was just a pleasure to watch. You saw the engage come out, just two ults turned that engage to nothing, and then all of a sudden Fancy Flightless Fowl was left with kind of no plan. I mean, Alfie was starting to really ramp up that damage at the end, but into Kael'thas Lunara, even almost 7,000 health can look mighty small.
Definitely there. Hi, Doc. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're going to go ahead and update the score screen now as we are 1-1. So that means game number 3 will be coming. And before we go to a quick break, it looks like the map's already set up. So, we'll hop in there, show you guys all the updates. But before we go to a quick break, Zebo, 100% loss rate now, Crush. Will we see him in game number 3, do you think?
I mean, Infernal Shrines, it can be a Nazebo map. It does have a little bit of that cursed hollow, call it a curse, where if you build too late game, sometimes you can lose before you get to level 20. Nazebo's biggest problem on shrines, I feel, is the range. Like, he's got to get right up in that shrine to really help out and zone out, and can struggle into some of our more popular long range poke heroes that like to come in on infernal shrines. One thing that we might actually see again, though, is that Alex Straza. Kind of a niche healer now, but when it comes to controlling points and controlling points for a specific amount of time, that Dragon Queen is almost unparalleled in that ability.
I would be surprised if we don't see that Alex Raza come back again, or maybe even banned out, as it was played very, very well by Doll there. So we can speculate on that. Maybe you guys want to speculate on that, chat. We're going to take a quick break while we get everything set up and give ourselves a break. We'll be back here in a moment. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Unfamiliar glare blinds me out, I'm blinded. Inspired my efforts to keep you satisfied. I seem to be losing you, it's not worth the fight. So I speak up, I scream into the void. I reach for a hand to guide me through the shifting land below. I'm running up, the walls are closing in. I feel the cold embrace of dust. We rise and dust we come. I hear my voice speak through the walls of stone. When I saw you leave, I felt you go. It's the hardest part of life, blinding from a distance, no more resistance. So I speak up, I scream into the void. I reach for a hand to guide me through the shifting land below.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks so very much for waiting. I'm going to let the teams know that we are ready to go. And we should commence with game number 3 and our last game of the evening. We've gone to Infernal Shrines. If you guys didn't see right before the break, this is, again, game number 3. And I'm really excited, Crush. You know, both teams have played an absolutely dominant game in both of their series. Who are you looking at with this one, based on what we've seen in the last 2 maps?
So far, Fancy Flightless Fowl have played two, I'm gonna say, extreme styles. There's not a lot of mid range. It's just we're gonna have a plan, and the entire team is gonna be geared around executing a very specific plan. And we saw Los Popochas unlock the answer in the last one. Now, does that push Fancy Flightless Fowl into a more generalist strategy, or are we going to see something again very strong but specific here from Fancy Flightless Fowl? I mean, Infernal Shrines is the generalist map, so I've got to think maybe something a little more measured from both sides is called for.
I could definitely see that for them. We're gonna see the Chromate Band away once again, and the Stukov. Now, my biggest, I shouldn't say concern, but the biggest thing I'm going to look for is to maybe see Fancy Flightless Fowl play this the same way that they played Cursed Hollow, and looking for those camp invades. We saw a lot of it on the first game, and we see a lot of it even more so than on Cursed Hollow, just in a general Infernal game. So since those maps are, or those camps are so critical to winning, I'm really hoping we see a lot of camp invade.
Could see the camp invade coming on through from Fancy Flightless Fowl once again. We saw a Sonya Greymane from Los Popochas team in game number 1, which are quite the pair when it comes to taking these camps. But you know, you got to hold the point after you take them, so it's got the push and pull there. But Marnik X gonna pick up a Sylvanas first thing, and usually a Sylvanas means you're trying to end this game before 20.
We're going to see the Alex Straza steal away from Gingy Boy, and then Diva picked up for Batman here. I'm intrigued by the Sylvanas, just because, you know, on one hand, she can help with the Punisher and push it away. On the other hand, you know, I feel like her camp clear has died down a lot without using that black arrows.
Sylvanas, not the camper of old, a little bit more of an assassin these days, not so much a PvE machine. But Alex Straza Diva is a devastating point control duo picked up by Fancy Flightless Fowl. That's going to be tough to break.
Gonna try and do so with that Johanna. Anna gonna be banned away here, not wanting to power up that KT any more than he already is. Was played just so expertly in the last game. Moist Weenus, thank you very much for the sub and the 69 bits. It's so good to see you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to say Diablo band out here, which I think, you know, is 100% respectable. This is one of his most played maps.
Definitely a strong Diablo map, and into Sylvanas Kael'thas, not the most hardy of assassins. I definitely understand the ban there. With May off the board, Johanna already picked up. I mean, we could see the Uther come through again. Uther Alex Straza, not the most common pairing when it comes to double healer. Gonna see the Tychus and ETC picked up by Alfie and Stewie this time. Interesting setup we have here over for Fancy Flightless Fowl. They're very flexible to what they could put in this last spot for Herbatronic.
Don't suspect that we'll see that double support that you were mentioning, just because Stewie has been our Uther player. Not to say that, you know, Herbatronic can't, and maybe do like an Uther off lane. It's a little weirder, but still definitely something that we have seen in the past. Brightwing Thrall coming out here. You know, I'm actually really blown away by the ETC. Granted, two of the strongest tanks have been blown away, and I have to eat my words as Rhaegar is going to come in.
I was thinking they need a little wave clear. Some camp clear wouldn't hurt. They've been playing double healer, and Rhaegar kind of fits all those bills in one package. So, nice draft. Well, what can I say?
I really like the double support style of play, so I'm really hyped to see how this is going to turn out, especially since I've never seen two heroes like this played as the double support. That's really, really interesting to me.
It's a very interesting setup. Rhaegar, Alex Straza. So you've got to think it's going to be Ancestral and Cleansing Flame, because I mean, unless they have extremely good communication, the chance of accidentally putting the Life Binder and the Ancestral on the one target is probably a little bit too much to deal with. We've also got the Silence Arrow from Sylvanas to possibly deal with here. Yeah, but I've got to think also that the name of the game for Fancy Flightless Fowl is just point control. Alex Straza Diva can just, once you're at 20 minions, once you're at 15, you just go Dragon Queen, you just put the bomb on the point, and you've got yourself a Punisher.
Could not agree more. We'll have to see as we hop into our last game of the evening. Once again, for the final time, over here on the left-hand side, we got Batman on that Diva. Alfie will be your Tychus. Gingy Boy rocking that gray mane, or excuse me, that the other Wolf Boy, that Rhaegar. Stewie will be your ETC, and Herbatronic on that Alex.
All right, in the red, Los Popochas team. Dahl is going to be on the Brightwing. Marnik X on the Sylvanas. Ancient going to be playing Thrall. TMA on the Kael'thas. And Vosh on the Johanna.
Now, I was wondering if we might see that Ancient Flame build from Alexstrasza, but it looks like we're instead going to opt for that Live and Let Live. So the cooldown reduction on the Q while she's above 75% health. Diva could certainly use some of that as they stand in that healing circle. But it looks like they're instead just, opting to continue having her be the main healer, not looking for damage in the Alexstrasza.
I like that build for Alexstrasza with this double healer comp. Rhaegar is going to be more forward, likely taking more poke damage while Herbatronic is in the back. And Gingy Boy can just bounce around that chain heal, making sure that Alexstrasza is above that 75% health mark, getting value out of that talent.
Able to keep each other nice and topped up, that's for sure. Level 1 for Rhaegar, we do have that electric charge, so of course increasing the radius of that lightning shield, and then also healing, so a little bit of self-sustain for the boy himself. You're talking about some extra wave clear, and that definitely brings it. Not as strong as the old Rhaegar lightning, where you throw it on yourself and somebody else and just burn down a fort,
Yeah, the
but
bond.
yeah, still very good.
Gonna see Rhaegar go up there to try to finish up that camp, and we're gonna see possible conflict over the bottom camp here. Stewie starting to move up, will be caught by TMA, and Los Popochas team, they don't want to step up into this double healer. I think they learned their lesson there from this series so far. Oh, that's a big pickup there. The Diva Bomb was taken out, so Batman gonna have to get in some pistol shots before jumping back into that mech.
Looks like Los Popochas do have control over this bottom camp. They're going to try and find Stewie there, but able to get away. Vosh, they're paying retreat. You've gotten too far. Not able to pick anyone up. The biggest thing I've noticed so far is Fancy Flightless Fowl are lacking quite a bit of damage in these team fights, but they're definitely sustaining it. So they're just going for so very long.
I'm interested to see what Tychus picks up on 4. It's about to come on through here. We've got the quarterback on 1 for the range to try to get back some damage onto a fleeing Sylvanas or Kael'thas. It is going to be in the rhythm. So Tychus trying to build to make sure that they're not just trying to kill Johanna, I think is definitely the play here, with Tychus being the solo damage.
Everybody is going to look and get set up here, and it makes a lot of sense. They're putting a lot of value in this Tychus right now. He's going to have to try and burst down this Thrall as well, who does an insane amount of damage, but has a smaller health pool than most of our tanks here. So in the rhythm definitely makes sense. You're going to see the Bruiser Camp get picked up by Fancy Flightless Fowl, showing up a little bit later to this objective, and with Rhaegar in the bottom, Kael'thas finally making his way up. I'm curious to see if they're even going to look to take this at all, or if maybe waiting until level 10 is a better, safer idea for them.
Stewie gonna slide on in here. Gonna have to move back though. The polymorph and the stunner out. ETC's in all sorts of trouble. Stewie taken down for first blood. Batman has that bomb ready to go, but with only 7 minions so far, Los Popochas team have enough of a head start that Alexstrasza and Diva can't just come in and claim this point. And now we're going to see Fancy Flightless Fowl just back off and prepare for the defense.
They know they can't get this. There's no point in trying to step up even further. Just going to try and pull this Punisher from safety. See, Gingy Boy is there, but Stewie has made his way back up. Will be able to pull it with the, does not get the power slide off, but still a big health bar to make sure that all the follow-up damage that comes after isn't too much to burst him down. Front wall will be taken out here. You can see Sylvanas activated those black arrows.
Oh,
Diva
Batman.
drops the bomb. Batman going to give their life to make sure this fort isn't taken. Gingy Boy as well. The Punisher is looking so very strong. We still might see this fort go down, Crush.
This frozen Punisher on 1 is just such a boon here for Los Popochas team. D.Va trying to move in and drop that bomb. Just very unfortunate timing on the icing from the Punisher. Catches the D.Va. Nice pick up there by Los Popochas. And now a full level ahead, and with the initiative on the map, they're just going to move forward and try to lock out Fancy Flightless Fowl from as much experience as possible.
Bottom siege camp already pulling up here. You can see Marinex getting started on that, able to take it out fairly quickly thanks to that Mercenary Queen. Every couple of autos will apply that black arrows. So more typical of the old Sylvanas that we used to see. Other camp has been taken as well, and I'm curious to see if they'll go for the aggressive camp with all the members of Family Flightless Fowl available. Looks like they're just going to continue pushing down bottom for now.
Sylvanas gets caught, but Brightwing gets interrupted? What happened? I think Dahl got interrupted there. Arnigex didn't get the teleport, but is going to be okay for now. Yeah, right now they're just trying to keep the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl here in this bottom lane while Thrall pushes up the mid. And look at that combo. Gingy Boy gets caught and spreads the bomb amongst two others. And this push in the bottom lane is getting a lot done.
Having all these short-range heroes, Tychus, D.Va, two melee heroes, and ETC and Rhaegar, is really just spreading that bomb around like, you know, wildfire, no pun intended there. Everybody getting on the bomb, getting caught, you know, 2 or 3 people every single time. Level 10 is online for Los Popochas. Gone once again for that Pyro Brass, but Brightwing opting for the Emerald Wind this time round.
I think the Emerald Wind is a nice idea here, especially with that Dragon Queen Alexstrasza on the other side. Just being able to split the dragon away and reset the engage and not let the dragon control the fight is probably a better idea than just having the blink.
Benkai, thank you very much for the 69 bits. I greatly appreciate it. So we're going to see the members of Los Popochas turn onto this bottom fort. This is the fort you typically see harassed the most, especially with the Punisher forming in the bottom here. It really makes sense. But the well is alive. The fort is still alive for the moment, and that is what is important. Middle fort, of course, was taken out earlier, so Batman has been relegated to doing the chores here.
Stewie looking for a gank in the bottom lane, only finds the Johanna to slide, so no kills going to be found there. It is going to be the Cleansing Flame for Alexstrasza this game, so going with the Ancestral and Cleansing Flame combo, that's going to allow Alexstrasza to play a little bit more aggressively and be able to leave the map once they get in trouble.
Solid prediction there on the heroics. We're going to see once again this bruiser camp started up a little bit later than we would typically see. You can see the bruiser camp of the red team already making its way to the gate. Of course, fighting under the towers will make it a little bit stronger for those fallen shaman of blue. They've already given over 10 of those skeletal defenders. Tychus has popped the Commandeer. Odin is trying to push away in there as they're slowly building back up.
Moving on in, the D.Va has the bomb once again. Alfie using that Odin to try to get some last hits here, and it's getting pretty close. Vash going straight in there with the Condemn. Bomb used to try to reclaim this point and claim a whole lot of minions, and now we see Fancy Flightless Fowl. This is what their comp is built to do. Get on this point and claim as many minions as possible. We are clear. Here comes the Earthquake from Thrall, but the Dragon Queen coming out as well, trying to keep Fancy Flightless Fowl on the point. Cleansing Flame coming out even to try to get some last hits on these minions. Gingy Boy gets healed up by the Ancestral to avoid the kill from the Pyroblast. Look at that. It's going to be Dahl actually interrupting the mosh pit that was onto 2. Fancy Flightless Fowl do manage to pick up this Punisher. Vash in all sorts of trouble here, manages to avoid that Punisher stomp, but Kael'thas not so lucky. Fancy Flightless Fowl managed to get the point, and they're going to get some siege in.
B-steps being returned as this bottom lane is in dire trouble. Great use of the Iron Skin there to prevent Boss from getting stunned by this Punisher. Already sitting at 36%. This will be the fort going down. Jinxeekatt looking for Doll in the back there, and that was a really great smooth play by the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl. They knew exactly what their comp needed to do. They waited so very patiently, and what looked like a Punisher that was going over to the side of Los Popochas ended up, they ended up losing out. And granted, ETC did go down, but he's back now. He will not have that mosh for another minute or so, but they managed to also grab the aggressive camp, and now the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl are coming back in this game.
With that bottom lane push, that means that they've got all the space they need to control these camps, picking up that extra experience to close the gap that they found themselves with in the early going. D.Va trying to do some work versus this Thrall. Thrall can possibly kill a D.Va in the top lane, though it is pretty difficult as we see a camp invade coming on through. Doll has to warp on back. It looks like it's going to be a simple disengage from Los Popochas.
They have a lot of work to do down here in the bottom, but they have excellent wave clear, so able to take care of those camps easily enough. And now it's all about pushing, trying to find that XP. You can see Fancy Flightless Fowl are slowly taking back that level. Oh, Wailing Arrow and Pyroblast coming out. That's going to be Jinxeekatt going down. Stewie next on the chopping block, cannot stay for that healing circle, has to back up. It looks like that's going to be the only casualty here on Fancy Flightless Fowl. They brought Thrall down. They knew they had the 4v5, and as a result, Jinxeekatt ends up going down.
Los Popochas turning this around. They commit the Pyroblast and the Silencing Arrow for that kill, and for the reward, they're going to start moving on to this bottom fort to try to equalize that periodic catapult pressure. This minion wave moving up will definitely secure this fort.
Keeping that experience lead alive. They now have 2 points of contention here that they've prevented from our Fancy Flightless Fowl to back up to safely. This next protector is going to be in this middle lane. They can't run down to grab any respite. They're going to have to run all the way up to top lane, and as such, just making it even harder on them. We're going to see them try to get the lane priority in this top lane here, and I'm curious to see if they'll look for the advantage or the invade. They don't have 16, so I assume not. Stewie just keeping tabs on everybody.
Stewie was thinking about moving in there, trying to possibly catch the Thrall on a rotation down. But now we've got an invade on the other side of the map. Vash starting to walk in, gets the condemn onto Stewie. There's the follow-up stun from TMA. Going to be cleansed out as Stewie slides on through the back to try to distract members of Los Popochas. But it looks like they're just going to turn around, focus this camp, and pick themselves up a double shaman. Very nicely done.
Gonna be a big push in the top lane. Somebody's gonna have to deal with, which is unfortunate for Fancy Flightless Fowl, as their team comp really relies on everybody being at the point. D.Va doesn't have superb wave clear, so they might actually just take the entire fort here with that Sylvanas Black Arrows. It's looking really low. That well has gone down, and they're gonna have to move all the way to the bottom if they want to tap and come back in.
TMA going to go ahead and start up this shrine once again. Members of Los Popochas team, they want to get this started and going as quickly as possible. You see that D.Va mech is up, and once again, Marnik X saved there by Doll. Nice teleport timing from Los Popochas. But now they're off the point. D.Va's available. Alex Straza does have the Dragon Queen available. This is the combo that Fancy Flightless Fowl is going to try to use to get these points. Using the bomb very early to pick up a free 10 minions. Now there's the Odin, and it's going to have to be a team fight here for Los Popochas. There's the Pyroblast onto the backline. Jinxeekatt with the Self-Ancestral to stay alive. Vash just trying to keep everyone up, but is starting to fall very, very low. Dragon Queen is back on the ground. Stewie tries to slide on in, but won't catch Ancient. And just look at the sustain there from Fancy Flightless Fowl. This dragon is going to be expiring soon. Look at those bombs from Kael'thas, though. Herbatronic has to move on back. Gatmang is demeched. Vash going to catch them with the condemn. Only 5 more minions needed. Look at the mosh. Stewie catches 3, but just no damage. Oh, Johanna actually going to fall here. Oh my goodness, this is so close. Alfie with the bomb on top is going to go down. Only 5 more minions needed, though, for Fancy Flightless Fowl. Can they do it, Jinxie?
Looks like Stewie's ready to give their life for it. Great interrupt on that Emerald win. It's not going to be enough. 38, 2 more needed. Gingy's going to go down. 3 members sacrificed to save this objective. The Arcane Punisher is going to go the way of the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl. This is basically going to be a free clear for the members of Los Popochas. Not going to get a whole lot of value, but they got it nonetheless. They don't have to worry about their keep being pushed in here. And what an absolutely insane team fight. The patience on ETC holding that Mosh. It came out right when it was needed, and fortunately only taking down the Johanna, but still just enough time to get the people who were low out.
Los Popochas team, they were trying to create that space, but it's just so difficult versus this D.Va Alex Straza comp. They find the fight, but with the Dragon Breath in that Dragon Queen form, D.Va just claiming 10 free minions at any point is, wow. I mean, you see the power of this comp. Uh-oh, TMA actually getting slid by Stewie there, maybe caught out. Uses the Arcane Barrier, Brightwing's coming on through.
Beautiful
but there's the Mosh gonna
Mosh.
catch them both. Stewie with incredible timing.
Oh.
The Emerald win gets Doll away.
Solid plays there. You can see Stewie has that level 13, the Encore, which reduces the heroic by 5%. So 1 Mosh on 1 person, no problem. We will have it back in just a couple of moments, assuming they'll be able to get those face melts off. Almost catching out Doll, but a really solid Emerald win saves the day. Now the teams are roughly on the same tier. They have the same talent, at least without the Kael'thas. This is going to be a successful invade on the side of Fancy Flightless Fowl.
Vash just trying to throw out the flashlight saying, hey, I'm here. Gonna use that Iron Skin to move away, but just poking in just to give the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl something to think about there. This is really back and forth. Both teams still have their keeps. Los Popochas now has their level 20s. Can they make something happen before Fancy Flightless Fowl find theirs?
Have to be careful. They're very far out without a fort here. You can see the flank from Vosh coming in. They find Stewie. The Blessed Shield is available, but it looks like they don't want to push in too incredibly hard. The members of Fancy Flightless Fowl are going to have to give this up, seeing as they don't have those Storm tier abilities. They do have a fairly solid wave clear, though, so we'll be able to get rid of that quickly enough. And right now, it's all about finding that 20 for them.
Ash discovers Stewie in that bush. We've got the top lane proxied by that Shaman camp. Looks like going to possibly be a mid-siege here by Los Popochas team. Right now, Kael'thas floating around the top lane, going to start moving their way back. And yeah, it looks like they're really just trying to pin Fancy Flightless Fowl back with these lanes. You've got the Shrine activating in 17 seconds here. D.Va farming the top lane, does have that bomb available once again. And Los Popochas, they don't want to wait for this objective. They want to move up. Oh, by the Encore once again. That's got to feel bad.
Not able to find Alex there thanks to the Encore. Objective has been started, so you can see Los Popochas making their way down there. Level 20 finally available in just a moment here for Fancy Flightless Fowl. Solid 10 protector or minion lead for the red team here. Looks like Fancy Flightless Fowl are going to look for it. They know that they only have keeps available, so something needs to be done. Commandeer Odin is going to be pop. Bosch is keeping everyone far away as 22 skeletal defenders are picked up.
Bash trying to get teleported onto. Brightwing is interrupted, and Johanna's actually going to go down here. Emerald win not enough to save Johanna. Herbatronic goes into the air with the Cleansing Flame to avoid that Pyroblast. Now it's Ancient trying to get away from Batman, but look at the body blocks from D.Va. Thrall in all sorts of trouble is going to go down. That's 2 kills here for Fancy Flightless Fowl. There's only 8 more minions needed, but there's just no poke available on the side of Los Popochas team. They've got to move back, and that's a heartbreaking situation there. Fancy Flightless Fowl, great job taking advantage, moving in, and claiming this point.
Their point control is second to none, Cross. They're gonna get started. 33, only 8 minions needed to get picked up but unfortunately just didn't have the poke. With Thrall and Johanna going down, they had no engage, no safety, no peel, no nothing. So Squishy members have to back off, live to defend another day, and now you can see the clever master brains of the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl looking to take all three of these bottom camps before finally finishing off this Mortar Punisher here, who will look to push in the bottom lane. So really laying it on thick for the side of Los Popochas.
Los Popochas, it's a double causer in the mid. Luckily, they've still got a fort that has to be chewed through. So that's going to give them a little bit of extra time to try to deal with this bottom lane push. But with the Odin coming out from Tychus, the siege is going to be tremendous. The Punisher is going to be baited back here, but there's that big red button. This keep won't be standing for long. And the way this is going, we could be looking at a core call here. The Punisher's still very healthy. Look at the combos. The Punisher comes in with the jump. That's going to be it for Sylvanas. Ancient trying to get away here. Dahl finds the teleport, but Alfie throws out the zoning big red button, and the core is being focused. Punisher still at half health here as the core shielding falls. Can they get this defense? Core down to 40%. The Herbatronic gets the Dragon Queen, and Fancy Flightless Fowl with another fantastic map draft pick up the 2-1 series victory.
Oh my goodness, what an exciting game. It was so back and forth. I thought for sure in the early game I was like, Los Popochas has this. They figured out Fancy Flightless Fowl's number, but they got those later tier talents. They got the really strong sustain from those heroic abilities, and it was just no contest. The patience of Stewie holding on to those mosh pits, making sure that they could catch Brightwing in it. Then the follow-up there, that last one in particular with John Bro coming in and just decimating the members of Los Popochas. From there, it was really, nothing could be done, especially as Sylvanas, played by Marin X, went down in the end.
I mean, it's just this is a map where people talk about other maps where like the objective is okay, not great. Infernal Shrines, the Punisher just does work, and we saw a comp built once again by Fancy Flightless Fowl with a very specific purpose in mind, and it just surges through for the victory. I gotta give it up to them. Very, very strong drafting this series.
Strong drafting and strong talent choices. One thing to mention here that I noticed was the rewind coming in for Rhaegar. Typically we see the difference, the upgrade to the ancestral heal, maybe the shielding, but nope, instead going for those extra earthen shields, going for the extra tidal healing on to his allies, really keeping everybody topped up. The blink from ETC allowing him to get in and out was just a really solid team comp. It was anybody's game. Fancy Flightless Fowl come out on top today.
Very well played. More Alex Straza in this series than probably the entire last season I remember casting, but played in very strong spots, knowing, just knowing when you can get away with an Alex Straza and knowing that niche is very, very effective.
I'm going to reach out to Fancy Flightless Fowl now, see if we can't get an interview from the members of the team. And then that'll be all for us this evening. And just going back to what you said, the Alex, we tried an Alex Straza this week. It didn't work out as well. The team really kind of knew what to expect. So, unlucky for us, but both of the Alexes, 100% win rate coming out here tonight. It was just so well played. We got to see two very different styles of play, both of them ending in a success, just reinforcing that currently, everybody has a place in the meta right now, even Nova.
Even Nova.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the style of comps Alex Straza. It's more about what you're picking into than what you're pairing up with. I mean, Alex Straza brings point control. There's no question about that. But when Alex Straza is kept below that 75% health, when she can't comfortably lock in with a life binder or comfortably set down that abundance, Alex Straza really starts to suffer. But you look at the enemy comp, from Los Popochas' team. We've got Thrall, Sylvanas, Johanna, Kael'thas. No one who can really get back there. The comp was designed mostly to blow up the Tychus and the Tychus ETC Diva there in the front line. So Urbatronic was mostly untouched that whole game, was able to move up with the Dragon Queen occasionally. But when things were getting hot, just back up to safety and was feeling fine back there.
Very solid indeed. Looks like we will have an interview with our friend Alfie from the members of Fancy Flightless Fowl. So if we want to hop down into Lobby 1 and congratulate them on their win.
All right, see you there.
Alrighty, Crush is going to go away for just a moment as we head over. Stalling. All right, hello! Congratulations on your win.
Hello, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, so we had a very explosive series going with game number 1. You guys took us to Cursed Hollow and ended up having a sub 12-minute game. How is that? Tell me about the game. Is that a team comp that you guys practice regularly? Is that, just a comfort map? Tell me about the first pick.
I mean, we solid on Cursed. It's a map we're all very good on. We all had really solid and comfort picks that we liked. And it's a map that if you have one good laner that can soak efficiently and then just a good team fight as well, it's pretty easy as long as your rotations are on point, which thankfully they were.
Yeah, I mean, at one point we were talking about the fact that it looked like the camp clear on the side of Los Popochas was a little bit better than you guys. And right as we were saying that, you guys came in and invaded their bruiser. So tell me a little bit about that call. Was that something just, you noticed heroes on the map? What were you guys thinking when you made that camp invade?
Well, we knew we were going to be stronger early game. They have Diablo, Sonya, and Azebo. So we wanted to play aggressive every opportunity we got, and we noticed that the only person missing was Greymane, so we figured, hey, yeah, they're probably in their bruiser. Let's go get it.
Definitely. Any questions about game number 1, Crush?
Yeah, I mean, just showing the prowess there with the Uther Stukov that was summarily banned for the rest of the series there. I mean, we saw double healer from your team the whole series long, and not just in the same way, in 3 different situations, 3 different pairings. Is that is that comp as flexible as it looks, or are there really only specific pairings that are viable right now?
I feel it can definitely be flexible. A lot of those healers can be good for the map. They can be good for the rotations of the comps, like Alex being good on Infernal, Uther being in open maps, things like that. I think it's very flexible, and if we pair the right healers up, which there's a lot more of than you would think, it can work on almost any map, really.
Okay.
Definitely makes sense. You guys go to Volskaya, and this time you guys pick up the Nazebo. Was that you felt confident in the Nazebo? Something you like to play, or were you just like, we're gonna show them how to play this?
I think, yeah, we just wanted to know that Volskaya always runs late. Nazebo can definitely be strong post 20, and I feel we were playing efficiently even though we were losing the early game, which was to be expected with the Nazebo.
Right.
But we just didn't play the last fight well, and we didn't coordinate at the end well enough. So that's what really happened. But we felt confident with the late game comp.
Right, and it was showing. I mean, you guys were getting a lot of value from the Nazebo stacks, but they just the poison from the Kael'thas. I mean, your poor Uther player, as an Uther tank, I was just, oh no.
Yeah,
So
the cross bombs really did a number us on that second game.
yeah. So you guys pulled it back the third game, and this time you also went for the Alex Straza. You went for the Rhaegar as well. So tell me a little bit about that combination, because that was completely out of the water for us.
Well, Alex is just so strong on point control maps like Infernal, where everyone's clumped up anyway, so she can get a lot of healing off. And Rhaegar, one is good rotations, good camp clear if needed, and good burst heal to keep Alex healthy, so she can heal everybody else, really. So it worked out, and we played a little bit more efficiently at not getting bomb spread everywhere. So we were able to pull it out in the end, thankfully.
Definitely. Any questions from game 2 or 3 for you, Crush?
So in that last game there, tell me a little bit about the Tychus and how that fits into this comp. So we've got the Alex Straza Diva, tremendous point control there. Rhaegar helping out with the rotations and the camps. Is Tychus more of a flexible pick in this spot, or do you feel that Tychus brings something unique to this map and this style?
I think he's just always good. He's just so flexible with grenade build, especially. He's got wave clear. He's got slow at 13. He's got minigun percentage if you need it. I think it was more of just he's just good in any scenario if you fight in the open or even in the objective itself. And Odin on point control maps is insanely strong. So especially post 20 when you have nuke. So it's just a good idea to get everything together to just blow up everything in a point.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, just we saw pretty much on all three maps from you today very laser focused drafts. Not a lot of generalists, not a lot of maybe we'll see if we can fight one way or another. It was very clear from the outset of the draft and of the beginning of the game what the plan was per map. And that's not really something I see a lot of teams do. Do you feel like drafting for the map is I mean is a stronger way to go than sort of the generalist style heroes and the generalist comps that fit on many maps?
Oh, absolutely. Because not every comp is going to work in every map, and I feel as the same way that my team feels, especially our lead drafter. Like winning draft wins you half the game at the very least. When you have a strong comp for the map, it just makes most of those things so much easier. So I think having a laser focused idea of what we're doing for each map really helps us know what we can flex into or not, and just prioritizing the strengths of the comp in the map.
Makes sense. Good to know.
Thanks.
Definitely. So, before we head off, we're going to give you the opportunity to have any shout outs, any call outs, anything you would like to say within reason. The floor is yours, my dear.
Man, I mean, everyone played well. I think we just had so many good engages, so many good opportunities to take picks or rotations. I just love that I was just never dying because I had double support for the most part. So I'll shout it out to my supports for keeping my dumbass alive.
For sure. All right, my dear. Thank you so very much for taking the time to chat with us. Once again, congratulations. Now go celebrate your win with your team.
Thank you, thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Congrats.
Alrighty, guys. I'm going to give Crush a call back so he can plug where you can find his lovely voice whenever he's not hanging out here with me. And then that'll be it for us. I will call you back. Cool. There we are. Alright, let's get him on the screen. There he is. All right, Cross, it has been such a pleasure casting with you. Where can folks find you?
When I am on my own channel, I'm over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheKushinator. I'm casting, I'm playing, I'm doing all sorts of stuff, Heroes of the Storm. So toss me a follow and you'll see every time I'm online doing some Heroes related content. When I'm not streaming, you can find me on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, all at TheKushinator. So yeah, keep up with me and you will see all that I'm doing.
Remember, guys, that's Kushinator with a K, not a C. Spells it the cool
best
way.
way to spell it.
Exactly. K's are much better than C's. Thank you guys so very much for hanging out and watching with us. Again, I'm Jinxeekatt. I appreciate all the bits and subs and follows that I got this evening. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.